Alright guys, the time is now for a showdown between the Vampire Coast, who's going to be led by Cylostra Direfin, and the Dinosaurs, who are going to be led by Gar. So while I have you guys here, I wanted to talk a little bit about Cylostra and her place in the metagame. So, Luther Harkin and Noctilus are both very competitive picks, right? Luther on his Terrorgeist, and even on foot against the Dwarves, is very solid. He has good AP with his gun, he has some really good spells against magic users. He's just kind of a bit of a powerhouse, right? So if you have Luther dueling like the Red Duke or anyone like that, he can kite them and shoot them. He just brings so much utility to the battlefield. On top of that, Count Noctilus on foot isn't bad. He has anti-large, he has armor piercing, he has just summon spams for days. And where he really shines, of course, is on his Colossus. But that then brings us to Cylostra. So I think initially, I was really excited about Luther and Noctilus and just kind of a, tunnel vision on them, right? But Cylostra and Lord of the Deeps is not as strong as Lord of Vampires, in my opinion. Lord of the Vampires just has so many good spells, right? You have Invocation, you have Raise Dead, or Drown Dead, and Drown Dead can actually summon gunnery mobs. You have Dance Kebab, which is very powerful. Vampires is just really, really good. But Cylostra is like one of those characters that has so many good utility spells. If you look at her kit, aside from the Lord of the Deep, she has Song of Enthrallment, which you can spam throughout the entire battle. It lowers speed by essentially half, lowers melee attack. It's very, very good, right? She's ethereal, so she's kind of hard to kill without Lord of Death. And she has Ghost of the Past. So Ghost of the Past is so good in just so many different matchups. You can summon knights behind someone's front line, get into their gun line. You have a mobile terror-causing station. But again, that brings us back to our original point. The reason why she was kind of overlooked, I feel, is because Lord of the Deeps, objectively, is just not as good as vampires in a competitive vacuum. However, there is one spell that's really good. The Denizens of the Deep. I mean, the other spells are decent, but this one is very good. It summons 2 groups of crabs. And I think that there's going to be a lot of summoner builds with Cylostra, where you just bring her with this kit right here. All you're using her for is her Song of Enthrallment, the Knights of the Ghosts of the Past, and Denizens of the Deep. She only costs like 14 or 1500 with this particular kit. You probably should get rid of Kiss of the Deep as well, since you only have one spell. Bit of a mistake there. But you summon the crabs, and then you also bring a Vampire Caster for Invocation of Nehek and Drown Dead. So basically, you're going to be summoning knights, you're going to summon 2 crabs, and a multitude of deckhand mobs. It is so powerful. I've actually been using this build in, it's actually going to be in my Vampire Coast guide, and you guys will see I use it a lot. And I do think that Cylostra, depending on the build, can be a very, very competitive pick and can just be an absolute game changer, even more so than Luther or Noctilus, depending on the circumstances. So very happy to kind of see her shine in multiplayer. Anyways, as far as the build goes against the dinos, front line is going to be zombie-powered deckhand mobs. We have 3 deck droppers with the handguns, which are very good against dinos, but as most people will learn as the game kind of the DLC's out for longer, you essentially don't want to try and go big dinos against the Vampire Coast. You just spam Saurus and go very wide. But Pterodon Riders are also a very good counter against deck droppers, as you guys probably saw in one of my replays a few days ago. And in order to counter that, you bring a couple of Fellbats. You get 2 Fellbats. They're able to kind of swarm them while you shoot them. You get a lot of good value. And on top of that, you can hide by your army. For the main core, we got deckhand mobs with handguns. We got 3 of them just in case he decides to get a little bit off meta there and goes with big dinos. They can shoot Temple Guard and do pretty good work. And now we have some of the more useful units against the dinosaurs, are the Depth Guard. So Depth Guard are just powerhouse units against the Saurus. They annihilate Saurus. They can actually trade okay with Temple Guard. They just cut, they'll lose nothing against Skinks. They are just a very, very good choice. Now, you don't want them as your main line, but having a couple of them in reserves to pull in once the deckhand mobs take the initial beating is very powerful. In the back, we have one group of Sirens. Sirens are actually not bad. They do, of course, have the, I think it's called Charmed or Enticed or something. Yeah, Charmed. So it lowers melee attack by 9. They have good AP. They cause terror. These guys are a pretty good roadblock. Like if there's a powerful lord coming in or something, you send them in. They're going to lower their melee attack and are definitely a really, really cool unit. Now, again, not a mainline unit, a support unit. It's really good to have like 1 or 2 of them tops. A couple deckhand mobs on the flanks. We got Cylostra and the Vampire Caster, and that is pretty much it for our army aside from the deck droppers. For our opponent's army, it does have 2 groups of the Pterodon Riders, which I think are a very good pick here. However, I think that my Air Force should be able to counter them, considering I have so many Fellbats, but I usually like to run 2 or 3 of these bad boys. But, I mean, he has Skinks on the low ground. It looks like he has 4 groups of Chameleons, so that is plenty of kind of pressure to put on my deck droppers, so definitely very solid stuff here. He's got a front line of Saurus, looks like 2 Saurus, 1 Temple Guard, and 2 Skinks. Now, that would be my only initial criticism of this build, is that I think you need to go more Saurus heavy. Temple Guard are okay, but again, Saurus, can do the trick in the front line. They can pretty much take everything. Yes, Depth Guard do pretty well against him, but if you have supporting magic and a hero nearby, you can usually do fine. Mass amount of Skinks who do have really good missile resist, so I don't have too many good targets in that respect. He does have Gar on a Velociraptor over here, and a couple Cold One Spear Riders. No, 2 Cold One Riders and a Cold One Spear Rider. So a lot of cav. Don't know if that's necessary per se, but again, at least it gives him backline pressure. But the coast is so good at defending flanks with halberds and just cheap chaff. I really feel like it's better just to spam infantry and just kind of zerg them with those type of units. But without further ado, let's see how it goes for my opponent here. So anyway, Skinks in the middle. He's able to fend me off there. Very, very good stuff. I have to fall back. with the deck droppers, as he does chase me down with these Pterodon Riders who are coming to butter that bread. So definitely, I didn't get the free damage I wanted to. I actually wanted to shoot at the Pterodon Riders and pick them apart as much as I could, but the Skinks were able to kind of roll out here. And Chameleons, for anyone who don't know, are a skirmisher unit for the Dinos. They've been out for a while here, and they do have 40% missile resist. So that makes them kind of a an ideal pick, right, against the Coast. But again, the Coast is going to bring a lot of chaff as well. So I guess they're not bad. I don't know if going this heavy into them, but I mean, it is paying its dues right now. I mean, they're actually chewing apart my deck gunner. So yeah, we'll see how it plays out in the long run. But that's why Cylostra is also so good, because you can summon the Damned Knights, or the Ethereal Knights, and you can actually chase down the Skinks, which is very, very useful. So the guns in the meantime are going to be setting up shop. I will be shooting at the Temple Guard, Pterodon Riders, and the Cav for the most part. So the first volley is coming in on the Temple Guard, who do have shields, so it's going to be a decent trade for my opponent. I actually send in one group of Fellbats to just attack the Skinks, just to kind of keep them in check for the beginning of the battle. So the deckhand mobs do push into the Skink cohorts and the Saurs, so they're going to get spanked pretty damn badly. The engagement's underway in the whole front line. The Skink Chief is going to be pushing in, or Skink Priest is going to be pushing in, Temple Guard pushing in. Everything's going to be getting pretty hog wild. My gun line's in okay shape, and right here I'm going to be summoning some Prometheans. So look at that. You have a hole in your pocket, right? Right here, there's an issue. Saurs are coming through, and all of a sudden Cylostra's like, here are some giant crabs. Now you could do the same thing with Drowned Dead, but these guys are actually going to be so hard for the Dinos to kill. They have so much armor. So I do catch those Saurs Warriors. I muck them up a little bit, and a couple of them do get through, but for the most part, they definitely got roadblocked pretty bad, and my guns are still shooting. Now over here on the flank, a massive charge coming in from Cold Bone Riders, trying to just blitz through my formation and get into my guns, and he kind of does, actually. He gets a lot of work in, but what I did is I grab my deckhand gunner, or my deck droppers, I rotate them away from his Skinks. I'm trying my best to, but he is chasing me pretty efficiently, and actually just start shooting at the Cold Bone Riders. Now, these guys are on the ground, I have flying, so I have that advantage. I can now fall back over here and start shooting these guys relatively unimpeded. So now my front line's getting a little bit hog wild. He's pushing through in a couple areas. I'm going to be sending in the Depth Guard. So Depth Guard, a very, very good answer against Saurus. They're going to cleave these guys asunder and definitely do some very good work for me. So quite excited to see their kills over the course of the game. So Sirens coming in here as well, which are going to lower the melee attack of the Cold Bone Riders once they do get their paws on them, which should be quite useful. And again, they're ethereal, they're tough to kill, definitely quite happy with having them in this list here. On the far side, there's some Cold Bone Riders sneaking around, and a little bit scary. Cylostra Direfin is being attacked by Krok-Gar. I use the Invocation of Nehek, and again, without Invocation, she actually got popped down to like half health simply because of her, because of the Ethereal, and he did use Hand of the Gods. So if I didn't have that Invo, potentially could have cost me the game, right? So I summon the Damned Knights, I charge him into the front line, and I do see him trying to get a little bit slippery here in the back, and this is just proving the value of Cylostra, right? I get these Knights. Cold Bone Riders, of course, would trade pretty efficiently because they're just Knight Errants, but they intercept these guys, they buy time for my zombies to set up their gun lines. It's such a useful utility unit here. So the Damned Knight Errants are going to be engaging here. My guns, unfortunately, slightly compromised, but they're going to be getting pressured by the Damned Knight Errants, and I do have that kind of overlapping fire from the deck droppers here in the back. So just, you don't necessarily have to harass the back line with them. You can just use them to kind of defend here. So we just gunned down those Cold Bone Spear Riders, which is beautiful. Front line, there's a lot of Skinks though, but for the rest of his forces, I think he went a little bit too light on the infantry, and you can see the Depth Guard here are just sweeping through, crushing these Saurus, and now they're going to be chasing down the Chameleons and some of these other threats here. Definitely going to be some pretty cool stuff. So yeah, look at these guys, just so gangster. Anyways, up here, the Pterodon Riders and the Skies are now re-engaging with my deck droppers, now that kind of my back line is a little bit wild. Definitely a good play for my opponent because they do outtrade the deck droppers in melee pretty heavily. I noticed that there was a little bit of a chaff getting through as well, and some Knights coming in here, or Cold Bone Riders. So I do summon some zombie powered deckhand mobs to kind of help out these gunnery mobs here, but a little bit sloppy in my execution with the summoning, and probably going to miss that. Nice Wind Blast for my opponent. Does chew up the zombie powered gunnery mobs. Wind Blast can definitely be pretty good against such units here. And it looks like the Sirens are actually able to get a good surround on the Skink here, putting his melee attack down to 13. And of course, is he immune to psychology? I don't know if he is. Yeah, I don't know. We'll have to check that. I don't think he is. But anyways, frontline engagement's going pretty well. Another thing about Cylostra that makes her pretty good is she does cause terror. So a lot of these units like Skinks and even Saurus, who are pretty beat up, can potentially get terror out of it, which is very cool. So Krok-Gar right here, riding around, Hand of the Gods, blasting Cylostra in the face again, doing almost half her health. It did easily like 30-35%, give or take. But again, here's more utility from Cylostra. I'm able to use a Song of Enthrallment, which slows him down to 41 speed, and she has about 40, so she's able to squeak away. And then also Zerg in with the Sirens are going to be pinning down Krok-Gar and potentially doing some pretty good work for me. So the battle looks to be going in my favor pretty well here. This entire flank was pretty much a cleanup. Depth Guard are in really good shape, and I think that's going to be one of the things that's really tough for my opponents. I summon another crab, the Rotting Promethean summon, just to kind of pin things down here. And obviously Temple Guard are really good against them, but it does buy some time. And I also summon a group of zombie gunnery mobs who are the powder variant, who are going to start shooting and putting some pressure here. Krok-Gar and some Cav are going to be engaging them, but really they're just like, what, like 5, 6, 7 wins of magic, so it's really not a big deal. In the back, the gunnery mobs are able to stabilize with the deckhand support. He does have some skinks, and he is chasing down my deck gunners, doing a good job, but you know, we're still actually trading okay, right? Because his guys were so beat up. The Pterodon Riders took so much damage, and I did have a 3-2. I had 3 deck droppers against his 2 Pterodon Riders, which is pretty advantageous there. So now it's a bit of a blob fight. You can see here that Croc R is making a last stand. The Bounce Bar does creep back towards the middle a little bit here. The Vampire Fleet Captain I'm going to be sending in to try and take out the Scheme Priest with Heaven. Cylostra is fighting there as well, which is a little bit risky, but she does have that, you know, ethereal resistance, so she's going to be very tanky against physical attacks. And now that I know that both of the Hand of the Gods charges have been used, I didn't feel too worried about that. Over here, the deckhand mobs are going to be intercepting the Skinks. We have a couple Halberds as well helping out, but there's not much left for the dinos, just some Chameleon Skinks and just mostly chaff units. And we still have a lot of depth guard. We have 38 here, 42 right here. Our Sirens are in perfect health. So really, I think, excuse me, I think the execution of the build went pretty well. We had the deck droppers, or the depth guard, do their job as a kind of a supporting unit that you pull in next. A really good wind blast from my opponent there, actually. Did some good damage. Had it gone like right here, that could have been very, very devastating. But I think at this point it's too little too late. But yeah, I think the build worked out pretty efficiently. At this point, it's just going to be Croc R getting surrounded and beaten down by all these different units. Croc R on foot definitely works out pretty well here, but putting him on the Raptor isn't that big of a deal either. But yeah, so let's take a look at the build, kind of break it down. Front line, take the beating, right? You use the 2 depth guard, and you know, normally they can swarm you pretty efficiently, but when you have the Drowned Dead summons plus the Cylostra summons plus the Knight summons, there was a lot of areas that, like, when he got back there, that could have been my whole back line compromised, right? By that one group of Knights. It just takes one thing to snowball the game out of your control for Vampire Coast. When they get into your back line, just sweep through and kill all of your guns. Again, you know, they have like 7 melee defense or something. So being able to summon those damn Knight Errants and then use the Rotting Promethean summon in the front line to block that up, and the Drowned Dead to plug any other holes in your defenses to allow your gun line to keep firing is so incredibly powerful. And that's why I think Cylostra Direfin and the Vampire Fleet Captain, that synergy between those 2 units is going to be competitive in a ton of different matchups. I actually use it in Greenskins, and you guys will be seeing it in my Vampire Coast guide. We'll kind of break it down and show you the matchups in which I think it's very good. But yeah, front line did their job. The depth guard, really good against Saurus, really good in this matchup in general. The things that typically are going to punish depth guard are going to be bigger dinosaurs, and they're too risky to bring against the gunnery mobs. Granted, Saurus with like support from heavens or beasts or anything like that can definitely kill depth guard. Not one-on-one, but you know, with just kind of sheer volume of numbers. But yeah, I think it's kind of the right direction to go. This is actually my Lizardmen build for my guide my guide from the Vampire Coast against the Lizardmen. Brains a little bit out of it. But as far as my opponent's build, I think he needs more front line. I really think that's what it was. So we can actually take a look at what I like to really do against Vampire Coast and I've had success with. So custom battles here, we're going to cut that, and we are going to go to the lizard people, wherever they may be here on this list. I'm just so out of it today. All right, so Croc R on foot, he's a really good choice. You get Hand of the Gods, you blast Cylostra. My opponent did that very, very well, right? From there, you can get a Scheme Priest with Heavens. I personally think Beast is a little bit better, actually. You get Flock of Doom and you get the Manticore summon. You summon the Manticores, who are really stressful to face off against for the deck droppers, right? Because then you only need to get 2 Pterodon Riders to counter them, and then you summon a Manticore to deal with the third one, which is very good. We get 2 deck droppers. We're just going to get 2 of those bad boys, and now we just go to town. We just go to town. I'm pretty sure on ladder you can only have 6. Yeah, 6 of any, you know, given one unit there, right? So I mean, it's crazy. I feel like we have like so much more stuff we want to do here, but we'll get a couple Chameleons. I think getting like 2 of them, 2 or 3 is probably fine. The Cold Wind Riders actually weren't bad. I think having like 1 in reserve just in case there's like a big unit is going to be pretty good. And then from there you can just get a couple Saurus Spears, and I mean, you could even cut like a Skink and get like, you know, but I think having a couple Skinks is pretty useful against those flying units and stuff. So from here you just Chevron, and yeah, this is going to be it. You swarm with Saurus. Saurus beat the brakes off Vampire Coast infantry for the most part. The Spears can help out against like the Prometheans, and you know, honestly, they do pretty well in the front line. Pterodon Riders and the Manticores are going to be going after the air. Croc R can go after the Lords and just kind of be a bit of a presence here. And if they do go with like a big crab or any like off-meta builds, you have the Spear Riders, you have Croc R, and you have 2 Saurus Spears with shields to deal with large threats. I think this build is pretty optimized against Sea Coast. So thanks again for watching, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed the game as well as the post-game analysis. Very well played of my opponent, and we will see you guys next time. Take care.